Shalom Yasharala. Well, I already said my greeting, so I'm not gonna, let that words be few, right? So, I wanted to talk about something that, uh, I saw just to let y'all know where it comes from. I looked on social media and I saw that some sodomite. I found out later arguing with him he's a sodomite. And I try to at first when I didn't know he was a sodomite, I tried to speak to him, to try to educate him, and even when I found out he's a sodomite, it's not that I got insulting or I became insulting because he's a sodomite. I became insulting because he was insulting me. But it was a picture that he used AI to put Ras Baraka in a dress, right? So I told him, you can't just do shit like this for laughs. You have to attack what he's doing wrong, not not call him a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is one thing, Israelites do it too. And I also want to do a disclaimer because I don't want it to be taken the wrong way. When I called Deacon Haktua, I called him Deacon Haktua. It wasn't like I'm saying he's the Haktua girl. It's straight up just a play on words. It's not calling him gay or sodomite. I don't know anything about Deacon Hakka other than I'm a better rapper than him to say anything about him. I don't pay him no mind, no attention, nothing. But I don't have any reason to actually think he's a sodomite or anything. So the Haktua was more of a play on words than it was like trying to say he's anything like the girl. You know what I mean? But the truth of the matter is, if we look at our language and we take a good look at the way we conduct ourselves as Israelites, we do a lot of emasculating each other. And I'm going to explain something. There's a scripture in the Bible that says if you broke one law, you broke them all. That doesn't actually mean if you work for hire on the Sabbath that you're homosexual. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that. Y'all take scriptures to mean the wrong things, and this is why where even Israelites are not elevating. It doesn't actually mean you're gay because you did something else. Like we call men homos for committing adultery. It's wrong to commit adultery, and adultery is evil in and of itself. You don't have to say a man that commits adultery is a sodomite just to make him out to be a worse man just because he not just because, but because he slept with a woman that's taken. That adultery is a sin bad enough in and of itself without you mixing it with a man liking men. You don't have to be extra. That's the problem with Israel. We're extra. Yeah, do we hate these evil sins? Especially now with this over-sexualization of people. Yeah, we hate all that shit. But that don't mean that one thing is another. That don't mean that you have to incorporate, oh yeah, he because he slept with all these women and many of them are taken, oh, this man's gay. Like, no, he's not. It's wrong what he's doing, and spiritually I could understand how one sin kind of feeds the other. But you can't say a man is a homosexual because he sleeps with women that are in relationships. You can't actually say that. Bonloy always used to say it the way I think is the right way to present it. It goes into homosexuality. It's not actual homosexuality. Yes. You're uncovering a woman's body who belongs to another man. She's an extension of him. So in a roundabout sense, yeah, you could say that the sins are intertwined. But to straight up say, oh, you're a FA double 2 Gs because you slept with a woman that has a man. No, that's inaccurate. I'm all about calling out sinners. I'm not about overly insulting sinners, because when you overly insult somebody, means what you're doing is you're adding things that they didn't do, so it destroys your credibility. We can't do that. We can't emasculate men that are not effeminate. How do you say Ras Baraka? First off, how does a sodomite say Ras Baraka, put a picture of Ras Baraka in a dress to emasculate him? There's nothing. One thing about him, and I know Ras Baraka, I wouldn't say well, I don't know him personally like that. If he saw me, he wouldn't know who the fuck I am. But I'm pretty familiar with him since I was earlier in the truth. Because I saw him speak at different events. I went to an event. I used to work for his campaign when he was a councilman at large. Work for. It wasn't like I volunteered. So I've seen him evolve from there, where he used to call out Edomites on shit all the time and surrounded himself with people that did it. And now he's, kind of incorporated, which I don't agree with. I don't think that's good at all. I wouldn't defend him now, but I also ain't gonna let a motherfucker just call him a sodomite when he's not one. Like, let's not over accuse. I want to pull the scripture real quick. Ecclesiasticus 26:5. There be three things that my heart feareth, and the fourth I was so afraid: the slander of a city, the gathering together of an unruly multitude, and false accusations. All these are worse than death. Why is a false accusation worse than death? Because let's take a guy like Ras Baraka, right? He does have shit to atone for, not atone. He has shit to account for. Definitely. He has a lot of things, a lot of corruption, a lot of things that have happened under his watch that he hasn't done correctly. The city of Newark is terrible. And it's pretty bad under his watch. I'd say I don't know if it's worse or better. I mean, there were days when it was 50 of us on the fucking corner, beat up anybody that walked past, but now it's not much better either. I mean, it's a lot of shit going on in Newark that's corrupt. So he definitely has things to account for. So if you're him, you already have all this shit to account for. Now you got people putting you in a fucking dress. Saying, putting another picture that same sodomite put up, because of course you go on somebody's page when you're arguing with them and try to see, who the fuck is this person dissing me? So I saw another picture he put of Ras Baraka with a man behind him and he's in that same dress. I'm like, I'm fucking utterly disgusted. Like, it's one thing to call out his corruption, as I believe everybody should, but don't call him a homosexual, or don't insinuate he's a homosexual to add to it. He's filthy enough the way he is. You don't have to be like, he's look at this picture of him in a dress. No, you don't. But Israelites do that to each other. When we call men, and we got to be careful with this, we call men bitch ass niggas. Oh, you a homo, or shit like that. Like, we have to be very careful with that. Don't put that out there, because now it's become normal to emasculate a man. So now you got all these women that say, oh, men that complain about women are zesty. They're not fucking zesty. They're just fucking, saying, women need to do better. Kevin Samuel was zesty. Which I will say he had some zesty ways about him. I'm not going to lie, but there's nothing outright homosexual about him. I mean, there's men out here in this society for one reason or another, like Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns is very zesty, but there's nothing that I would say is actually gay about him, other than his occasional mannerisms. He's not. I don't think he actually likes men or some shit like that. All that fucking arching eyebrows and the yes he did, or he really did. Like, what I'm saying? That's zesty, but let's be real. Like, the man's married to a woman. Does that mean necessarily he's not gay? No, but I don't have any reason to accuse Cat of being a sodomite. There's men out here that are zesty that don't sleep with men. And then there's women out here, the same women condemning these men are the same ones in the fucking club getting air back shots by fucking bitches in the club, kissing on bitches in the club, but accuse men of being zesty. What the fuck type of shit sense does that make? You have women here that are less than women. They might not be, gay, but they're whores. And they're over here fucking talking about how men ain't masculine. Or if a man wants to be with a woman, but he wants to pay 50-50 bills, split down the middle. Oh, that's zesty. Like, everything is fucking gay and zesty to you fucking people out here. So we, as men that deal with truth, we can't add to the emasculation because it's part of the war against black masculinity. It really is. That's why I pay attention to Brother Umar. You notice no Brother Umar, as much as I don't agree with a lot of shit he does and says, I'll say this. That Tariq Nasheed nigga is gay as all hell. Gay meaning zesty. Not that he actually sleeps with men either. But he's very zesty. At least Brother Umar is a masculine man the way you're supposed to be. Now, if he was in the truth, man, forget it, you know? Forget it. He'd be out there lighting it up for the truth because he's very smart. But he's smart in the wrong things. Smart with the ways of this world. But, you know, we just have to, the point of this video, if there's nothing else that y'all get from this video, please, if a man is wicked, if a man does all types of shit that's wrong, but there's nothing, no clues indicating that he could be a sodomite, don't belittle his masculinity. Don't be like, oh, you know, you must be gay, you know, or what? No, if you have no indicator, no reason to believe a man is a sodomite, don't emasculate him. Because there's already enough emasculation. You can emasculate a Wesley Snipes. You can emasculate a Jamie Foxx. They've already done that shit for you. They've already shown that they are men that are willing to put on a dress. What's his name? Fucking Leguizamo? John Leguizamo? These men that put on fucking dresses for laughs or for whatever fucking reason, they're already doing enough. You know, the Jussie Smolletts, the Lee Daniels, all these homosexuals, there's enough black male femininity to attack within the so-called black and Latino community that we don't have to create and say, oh, this guy's gay because he, you know, he said that, or because he puts women in check. That literally, black men that put women in check are called zesty today. So there's already enough of that behavior in real life, right? Of men that are less than masculine, without us attacking men that aren't feminine and calling them feminine when they're not. They're clearly not. That's stupid. That's the dumbest shit ever. You know, terms like bitch ass nigga, like we have to be careful with bitch ass nigga. What is a bitch? A female dog. So you're calling a man a female dog ass nigga. I know it sounds powerful. I know you want to, sometimes we get into this culture of insulting and we want to say the most hurtful insults possible. But that's an insult that should get your fucking ass whooped. Honestly. We have to get out of that. If a man is not actually feminine, don't call him no bitch ass nigga. Don't call him the F word with 6 letters. You know, I know somebody's gonna pull out an old rap song of mine where I did it, and I don't do that shit. You know, that's why I'm out here condemning it now, because I realize, like, yo, I done called men the F word with 6 letters that wasn't that. You know? I mean, Sid, that used to be down with ICGJC, I don't know if he still is. I meant that one. I said that with my chest when I said Sid is still down. That's kind of suspicious. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, niggas like that, yeah. I've actually heard he was, you know, doing shit with men. You know? But even that, I have no proof of it. I don't even know who the fuck. He could walk past me right now and I don't know who the fuck he is. So they're really, you know, unless there's a reason to emasculate a man, if he represents himself in a feminine way, I get it. But masculine men should never, nobody should ever call a masculine man a bitch ass nigga, a FAGGOT, or anything that even puts his manhood or his masculinity in question. If it's not a reason for it, if it's not a solid, like, yo, you see the way he breaks his wrist? You know, yeah, some shit like that. But to over accuse and to call men things that they're absolutely not isn't spiritual either. You know, so hopefully y'all understand. Stop the false accusations of men, you know, because the scriptures tell you Hold up. Oh shit. It would help if I spelled truth correctly. All right. Yeah, there's something Yahushua said that I want to. Yeah. You know what? I can't find it right now. But there's a. Obviously, it's a paraphrase. Damn, it should have been. If I recall correctly, it was in Revelation 1st chapter. The late great Ariya Allah, and yes, I did know Ariya Allah, believe it or not. Not like we're best friends, but I knew him. But now I can't find the scripture, but he told me that no lie is of the truth. No lie is of the truth. And you know, when you think about it, if you're dealing with truth, you can't lie. You can't be like, oh, this nigga's gay. You know, just because he, again, you know, being an adulterer is bad enough in and of itself. If you really, you know, you go into the scriptures, I swear I read that scripture though, man. No lie is of the truth. Man. I must be looking for the wrong words, but there was a scripture that I read that said no lie, or more or less, paraphrasing, no lie is of the truth. I'll find it eventually, but we can't use lies to preach truth. You can't call a nigga something he's not just because you want to make him more of a monster. That's not Yahushua. Yahushua called people exactly what the fuck they was. You were a fucking generation of adulterers, then that's what you are. You know, he didn't have to he didn't have to condemn people more than what they really were condemned. You know, because you're accusing somebody of a sin that they didn't do. You know, the scriptures tell you that if you try to accuse somebody of something that they didn't do, that the punishment that they're supposed to get, you're going to get. So y'all got to be very careful going around calling men all types of FAWGOTs, all types of homos and you know, whatever, emasculating men that are not actually that. You know, there's going to be more than enough for you to accuse a brother of, a man of. There's going to be enough wrong done that you don't need to add or to create or to be like, yeah, you know, I think he's this and that. You know, we can't do that, man. We can't do that. You know, unless we have a reason to believe and know that a man is that. Don't just throw it in there just so you want to insult him. You know, but anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom.